Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, we have the brand spanking new Tier 7 Canadian Battleship Yukon import to review for you guys today. I say Canadian because there's some pretty clear indicators that this thing's supposed to be from Canada. I'll show you those later on. But anyway, thanks to the Patreons for supporting the channel and getting this ship to review for you guys. The funds donated there go to purchase ships to review, just like the Yukon here. As many of you know, I am not a CC. I'm not supported by Wargaming in any way, shape, or form. So all donations there help get these reviews out to you guys. It's the best way to support the channel besides just watching the videos. So, again, just shout out to those guys whose names are up on screen right now, or should have been up on screen, and thank you for your contributions to the channel. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Yukon. So, as always, excellent job from the art department. The ship model is very nice. It is the Monarch hull, but it is a bit more detailed. I took a look at both of them earlier on. There's some more details on the Yukon, some more, just some more deck clutter and stuff. And this is, if you don't know, a King George V hull. And I'm actually building a Prince of Wales model from Tamiya right now. So I'm very familiar with this deck right now. Very familiar because I'm about to start working on the superstructure actually today. But yeah, it's nice to see these details reflected here in game as well. Maple leaf right there. And yeah, some very nice detail all around. Again, the art department as always hitting it out the park. And we got her name back there. And she does have a seal in the front. We'll probably zoom in on that. I think it's a maple leaf from what I can see in an import right now. We'll zoom in on that when we get in a battle. But anyway, so let's go ahead and take a look at the ship's armor and stats and see what the Yukon is all about. And we're also going to compare her to Monarch, since this is a Monarch, just down tiered from my knowledge, and a couple other changes. So armor, bows 26 millimeters. Yeah, down-tiered Monarch. She can't have a 32mm bow because, God, she'd be tanky at Tier 7 at that stage. 26 deck, 26 mid-deck 2, and 26 rear deck. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. I should mute that so I don't deafen you guys. And 26 stern. Yeah, it's a Monarch. 381mm upper belt, 381mm citadel, 260mm torpedo belt, and 356mm Citadel belt, and I believe that is just her Citadel chilling right there. Yep, there it be. If we take a look at the Monarch, it's, again, literally it's just the Monarch, which is also the King George V hull. So yeah, if you guys don't know, the Monarch in game, the Tier 8 British battleship, it's just a King George V with 9 15-inch guns instead of her 10 14-inch guns. And I do believe that is reflected here as well. Alright, so hit points 60,500, so pretty healthy BB for Tier 7. Same amount of hit points as the Monarch. So again, you got Tier 8 hit points at Tier 7. That's kind of nice, but I do think, if my suspicions are correct, it's also the same as the King George V. Well, also, British battleship Tier 8 hit points at Tier 7 is also on the low side because the British battleships have lower hit points than their other counterparts. So while it's Tier 8 hit points at Tier 7, it's British battleship hit points at Tier 7, so it's not a lot. So torpedo protection damage reduction is 22%. Artillery, her main guns, again, 9 15-inch guns. They reload in 31.5 seconds. So 9 15-inch guns at Tier 7, that's actually quite a lot of firepower. So 31.5 second reload time. They have a 180 time of 45 seconds. Maximum dispersion of 216 meters. Her HE shell, she has, of course, the British BBHE, which is very good. They do 5,300 maximum HE shell alpha. They have a 34% chance of causing a fire. They can pin to 64 millimeters of armor. Her AP shell, British BB AP. I'm assuming, I didn't read anywhere that they changed the AP, so it should still have that British short fuse AP. So 11,900 is the maximum AP shell damage. Her range is 15.7 kilometers. Very short range here. Her AP shells come flying out at 836 meters a second, and her HE shells come flying out at 731 meters a second. So that's, let me check the Monarch. Yeah. That's a much longer reload time than the Monarch. However, with the Monarch, I do have... Sorry, I do not have because it's Tier 8. So a 5-second longer reload time than the Monarch. Talk about that here in a second. Alright, AA, same AA as the Monarch. Ooh, less AA than the Monarch. So, significantly less AA. So she has an AA rating of 58 rather than 75. Ooh. That's, We'll see how that plays out. Alright, maneuverability has a top speed of 28 knots. And the Monarch has 29.4 knots, but I do believe the Monarch has a speed flag on. Turning circle radius of 790 meters and a rush at 9.7 seconds base, which is much quicker than the Monarch. So she's much more maneuverable, alright? Her concealment base is 12.8 kilometers, which is very good for a battleship. Very good for a battleship. And again, this is without commander skills or modules applied just yet. So, we're going to go ahead and module her out. I'm going to see how best I can kit her out. And we'll come back and I'll share some of my predictions for her before we go into battle. Oh, I should probably show you guys her stuff first. Alright, so... Oh, she does have a spotter. Okay, that's very nice. That's my Discord, not yours. Alright, so Tier 7, which means we only have 4 module slots. You don't have the 5th slot, which is where the concealment modules at. Let me mute my Discord real quick, guys. So you can't get the concealment module, which would be very cheeky if you could. You'd have a very stealthy battleship at that point. But she has repair party, and this is where it gets real interesting. Specialized repair team, so she has access to the super heal. That'll be interesting. And spotter or fighter, which Monarch does get as well. So you do get a spotter, so you could get your range out a little bit more. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and module and kit her out. I'll meet you guys right back here. Alrighty, she has been moduled and kitted out. So, module build, no surprise here, basic battleship build. Main armaments mod 1, damage con 1, aiming systems mod 1, and then damage con 2. So again, standard battleship build. For her commander build, again, basic battleship build. For maintenance, MLG turrets, adrenaline rush, basics of survivability, specialized emergency repair expert, or also discount superintendent, concealment expert, and fire prevention. So now this gives us a battleship with a concealment of 11.5 kilometers, which is actually about right for a British battleship. If we could take a look at the Conqueror / Thunderer. I don't have a commander on here. Let me just join him back real quick. Man, my Discord's just popping off today. So 12.3 kilometers is the concealment of the Thunderer, and the Conqueror used to be actually 11.42 before they nerfed it back in the day. So basically you've got the old Conqueror concealment on your Yukon now. So that's her big gimmick. She's stealthy, but she doesn't have a long firing range, and her reload time is 31.5 seconds, which with the MLG turrets we have a 37-second turret rotation time instead of 45 before. Monarch's thing is that she has a 25-second reload time and British BBHE, and that made up for her weaknesses as a battleship at Tier 8 with 60,000 health. So you could HE spam from a decent range and get good damage and contribute to your team that way. The Yukon, you can still HE spam, but it's much slower. But you do have the improved concealment and the dry dock heal. So will that make up for it? I don't know. Ship's also really maneuverable, so maybe we can get another little closer, especially when we're at Tier 7. But we'll see how that comes out. So I'm going to go ahead, hop into battle, and I'll meet you guys there. Alright guys, voiceover Mountbatten here, and the Yukon. Well, this ship is something alright. It's a very interesting take on the British battleship formula. And a take that in my mind, after playing it now, is one or two additions or changes away from actually being pretty darn good. However, the ship as is fairly frustrating to play. It's definitely a ship that you cannot play like a traditional British battleship, being that you set up medium to long ranges and just throw HE around. And that's a good thing, for an idea at least. In execution, this ship falls pretty short of what I think it's meant to do. Now, the idea is, in my mind at least, after seeing an 11 kilometer detection range and a 15 kilometer maximum range, okay, this ship is obviously meant to be played in fairly close, and plus with the increase in the reload time, HE spamming isn't as appealing because you have a 6.5 second longer reload time than the Monarch, and you have 15-inch guns, but a 15.7 kilometer maximum firing range. And yes, you do have the spotting aircraft to get that a little bit further, up to 18 kilometers. But with the AP on the Yukon, being that it has 15-inch guns at Tier 7, you can overmatch a lot of stuff at Tier 7 with 15-inch guns. So let's try playing her in a little bit closer with an 11 kilometer detection range and 9 15-inch guns at Tier 7. That's a lot of firepower at Tier 7. Well, the dispersion is quite bad. It's actually pretty reminiscent of German dispersion. I don't know if it's technically that bad, but from my experience with her, it's pretty bad. Now, I get it. 9 15-inch guns at Tier 7. That's a bit of firepower. The Gneiss now has 6 15-inch guns at Tier 7. Look at her accuracy, even after they buffed it, with just 6 guns, so 3 more guns. Okay, I understand. Okay then, you can't have good accurate guns at Tier 7 with 15-inch guns. But you have to play in close, so it shouldn't really matter anyway, right? Well, now you're still stuck with a King George V hull, which is not very good at close-in engagements. It's very high up with its citadel, and of course, with a 26mm bow, you can potentially be overmatched by a few ships at Tier 7 now that have 16-inch guns to overmatch your bow. So, And 2, it's not that fast, 29 knots after the speed flag has been equipped, but again, faster than some, so not terribly slow. The rotor shift time is very nice with 9 seconds, but still, you'll struggle to hit much even at like 14 kilometers. I was missing shots at 11 kilometers. Now, the gameplay you're watching right now isn't a Tier 7 match. You're actually watching a worst-case scenario for the Yukon. This is double up tier to Tier 9, which, with the changes to matchmaking, you will find yourself in a lot with Tier 7 ships. So take all of what I just said about how this ship is set up to be played close in, firing AP, or in this case, in Tier 9, firing HE, and at Tier 9, a 15 kilometer range is suicidal range for a lot of Tier 7 ships. Tier 7 battleships, when they get up to Tier 9, really have to fall back on their range advantage and try to use that. The Yukon can only do that for the duration of the spotting aircraft. Other than that, you have to get in close. Now, there's some ships like Gneiss now, which is still well armored enough. If you angle correctly, you can bounce shells off of your very well armored midsection. The ship's very fast and maneuverable to do that, so it's still okay-ish. The Yukon is terribly squishy, even by Tier 7 standards, because it is a Tier 7 hull, and the King George V class is very squishy playing it at Tier 7. But you do have that improved heel to fall back on, and that's the only thing that's holding the ship together in a Tier 9 game is that heel, because you can at least recover most of your ship after you just got blapped by an Izumo or a Musashi for most of your health. But then trying to do damage in return is a real struggle at Tier 9, unless you get in a situation like the one that I'm in now, where I'm very fortunate to have some island cover and a couple of battleships that are being very cooperative and just sitting bow into me and staying within my firing range. And even then, look at the accuracy on these guns. It's just like not fair. It's very, very bad. And the Monarch isn't a pinpoint ship either. None of the British battleships are, with the exception of Thunderer. But good lord, it's just terrible. And there's sometimes that I with 9 shells from 14, 15 kilometers away, which is max range for the ship, am missing this. I think it's a Marco Polo and a Veneto, and their bow end sitting relatively still. So it's frustrating. It really is. Now, of course, if you get close, the shells will connect. But you can only really get close in Tier 7 and 8 games. Moving up to the Tier 10, you're just relegated to HE spamming, and you can barely even do that because of your range. And again, if you get close to some of these Tier 9 ships, they're just going to, laugh at you, blap you, then go on about their day. And, it does have the improved heal, but, I mean, when you get blapped for most of your health, that's only good for so much. But at Tier 7 and 8 games, when you're a top or mid-tier, the ship's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. Once you get out of the mindset of this is a British battleship, I need to sit back and HE spam. Once you lose that mindset, it's kind of fun to play in a challenging way, but it's still frustrating too because of the way it's set up. When you are top tier and you're able to get in close, it's good fun. I like brawling. I like being able to do that with what is a King George with more guns. I like the King George V. I like the hull. I really like the way the ship looks. And like I said before, I'm building a model of the Prince of Wales right now. I like the ship. But this is so different from a King George that, but it's close enough to where it's like, okay, I can get in close with this. But it's missing a couple of key tools. The first one is the guns. Even at close range, like I said before, 10 kilometers, for some reason the ship's still putting half the shells in the water. Very German there. But what do the Germans give up to do that? Their armor. I'm sorry, what do they get in return for that terrible accuracy? Their armor. Their armor that allows them to stay within close range and not get utterly annihilated. And you only have that here in the way of the improved heal. And yes, it's an improved heal. It's very nice, but when it runs out, you're kind of boned. German turtleback armor doesn't run out. Your heal does run out. So there's that frustration. Other thing too is that it doesn't have hydroacoustic search. I feel like if it had hydro, that would make the ship a lot better at playing in close range and going in close. Because, sure, you got a nice heal and all, but that DD that's hiding around the corner that's about to shove all of his torpedoes into you, got a 9-second rotor shift time too, but I'm sorry, it's still a battleship. It's not going to turn tight enough to avoid those torpedoes and then to take care of that destroyer, nor does it have the secondaries to provide any type of destroyer repellent. But if you had hydro, at least, I'm not talking about a 6-kilometer hydro, I mean a 5-kilometer hydro, just a 4-kilometer hydro to at least deter DDs and give you a little bit of heads up about this guy's about to come around a corner and bonsai you. That would help the ship a lot. But doesn't have that. Doesn't have accurate guns, doesn't have a fast fire rate, doesn't have hydroacoustic search, doesn't have great armor. It's got an improved heal, it's got 9 15-inch guns at Tier 7, and it's got a fast rudder shift time, and it doesn't have any range. So, overall, this is a ship that, unless you, for some reason, want a Commonwealth battleship to train your Commonwealth battleship commander for the other Commonwealth battleships that don't exist right now, or if you're a Canadian and would like to imagine that Canada actually had a Monarch class battleship, I don't see much reason to buy this ship. If you want a British battleship that's geared for close range combat and has more of a tendency to use AP than HE, please go purchase the Duke of York. Because she has improved AP pin angles, she has hydroacoustic search. That would be a much better choice than the Yukon. Now, the Duke of York does not have the crazy improved heal that the Yukon has. So, that's my review and my first impressions of the new Tier 7 Commonwealth battleship, the Yukon. Pass on it. Again, unless you're a collector and you just gotta have it, there's no real need to pick up this ship. I mean, it's again, an interesting concept, a couple of changes away from being a pretty cool battleship, a pretty interesting concept, and a good execution of that concept, but it's just not here, in my opinion, and you're really not missing out on much. You could build your Monarch to play almost the same way as the Yukon does. But again, unless you just want an oddity, no real reason to pick it up, and that's what I think. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 30,000 subs. We just passed 26,800 a few days ago, and that's awesome. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're all having a wonderful Saturday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.